Hi all and welcome to the session on DevOps today. The last session we all covered what exactly is the life cycle of DevOps and why exactly DevOps came into picture, isn't it? What exactly is the role of each of the tools which we all will be learning throughout the course. So we all know what a version control system is, right? The developers, so whenever they are writing down the codes, that means whenever they are developing the applications, they require a lot of changes, isn't it? Now the problem which happened was that the developers were not able to manage of their codes properly. That was the very big issue, because let's say today somebody is writing down a code, something like maybe a code A. He is a developer and that developer is creating up a code A dot Java, right? Now let's say he wrote a class in this, a simple class, or you can say a very simple programming. Now as soon as he wrote this class, he went to his manager. The manager replied that okay, this particular file looks good and you can move ahead. But after a certain time, manager said that there are some changes which are needed, right? So again the developer had to mention the same changes in this code a.java file. Now let's say that at the very end the client says that okay, the previous code which was written here, that was probably good. So again the developer had to change all the things to the original version. Now the problem here is that he did not store anywhere the original version, the original copy of your code A. So that was the biggest issue, and that was an extra task which was being done by the developers. Because why? Obviously if I have written up some code, and if I'm not agreeing for the changes, then I should maintain at least the original copy of the code, right? I should maintain the original copy of the file, so that in case something goes down, in case we lose something, so at least we will have the previous one on which we started working, right? So this was the exact issue which all the developers were facing, and that is the reason why Linus brought Git into picture. Okay, so we had two types of version control systems. Earlier we had centralized version control systems where there will be a central server, as you can see this black server here, and this server will be working as the mainstream server. Now let's say these are four systems which are connected to this one single server here, one central server, right? Let's say there are four developers who are working in your company. They will have to get connected with this centralized version control servers, and then they will have to complete their task and upload the changes. The problem here was that a lot of dependency was made on this central server. If you are not going to connect to this central server, then you cannot update any changes. So let us say that developer A made a new feature in a project P. Okay, there is a project P going on, and the developer A here, he made certain, or he had to made a new feature. So he made a new feature and he uploaded all the changes. And let's say that this person here also wanted to do the same thing, right? So now the problem in your centralized version control system always, which has been, is that you always require to connect with this central server if you have to do any changes. You cannot store the changes anywhere. You'll have to do the changes inside the central server. Otherwise your changes will never be stored anywhere. That was a problem. And apart from that, internet connectivity always has been a problem, that you always have to remain connected with your central server, otherwise you'll not be able to upload the changes. These were the certain issues which people were facing. Now think about an environment where there are few developers from the country A, and let's say there are few developers again who are sitting inside the country B. Now if both of these groups of developers have to interact and then create the application, because at the end the project is P, right? So there will be one application, but yes, everybody will be actually interacting with each other, then only they'll be creating, right? So if developer A wants to integrate with developer group of B, and both of these groups are sitting in different countries, then there will be a lot of problem. This was the problem which was going on, and that is the reason why people started using distributed version control system. Now if you see the consequences, or you can say the disadvantages of CVCS, was that if the main server goes down, developers cannot save the versioned changes. The changes which have been done by the developers cannot be saved. Let's say that at certain point of time this server goes down, right? If this server goes down, then you will not be able to store the changes. Apart from that, the remote commits are very slow. That means if somebody is doing a commit from a very far away, then he will be doing it, or it will take a lot of time. Now if the central database is corrupted, the entire history could be lost, right? So there is only one database which is maintaining all the files, okay, from the very starting till the very end. So if this is corrupted, then you will not have the, or you can say you will not have the backup, and that will be a very bad thing, right? So that is the reason why we went away with something like a distributed version control system. So if you will look out for a distributed version control system, we have an extra database as well, which is kept in all the developers' personal computers, right? So now what happens? Always the central server has a copy of the original files. Apart from that, the local, or you can say the copies of the original files, are placed locally in every developer's desktop as well. Now the developers were able to work with it because there is a database which has been given to them. So you can store, or you will have to store the files in your local computers, and then only you will have to send it to the central servers. That is what you need to do. Now obviously when we talk about your distributed version control system, there are a lot of advantages of it. So we are not anymore dependent upon the central server totally, because we have a local server as well, or we have a local database as well. So if the central server goes down, then all the databases here, that means all the local repositories, will have the same copy of the files which are kept here, right? So we will be able to now actually easily operate with it, and all the developers, they do not have to remain connected to the internet all the times, because now they have their own repositories where they can store their own data, right? So that was also one thing which was there, and that is the best part about your distributed version control system. Now let us try to move ahead and learn more about your Git. Now you can see that Git here has a central repository. We call it as a central server, and we have a local repository as well. We already know that, right? So the Git is a distributed version control system, and we all know that it was brought up by Linus Torvalds. Let us try to understand how Git is actually placed, okay? So at the very beginning, what you all have to do is, you will have to first of all have a working repository. This is, let us say, the developer's computer. This is the developer's computer A, and then we have a developer's computer B here. Fine. So in this computer, we will be creating up a working repository, or you can call this as a working directory as well. So we have to create up a working directory in which we will keep the files which we want to send it to the central servers. We will keep all the files which are required for the project, which are related to the project. Let's say I am a developer and I am working over a particular project. I am working on a particular feature of the project. So at the very beginning, I'll keep all the files in my working repository, and when it's time, I will be pushing the changes towards the central repository. Understand the purpose. The purpose is that the central server should always have all the files with it, so that the whole application can be taken out of the central server. But yes, not at the very beginning phase. So that is the purpose of your Git, right? So we have to maintain the major files, or you can say we have to maintain the whole application itself over the central repository here. Okay, that is the prime instruction which we need to follow, isn't it? So let's say that this is a developer A, and this developer is working over a new feature which he has to obviously add in the mainstream application, which is already placed in the central repository. So how we will do that? First of all, we'll have to create up a working repository, then we will have to create up a staging area, and then we will have to create up a local repository. How should we do that? So once you are installing Git in your directory, inside any directory in your laptop, it will automatically do that task. The creation of all the working repositories, the staging area, and the local repository will be done automatically by Git. So we just have to install Git on our respective systems. It will automatically distribute the stuffs. So basically there are two repositories which you have to think about, working and local. What is the difference between it? The working repository is something which will keep all the files which are changed. Now what generally happens is, the working repository is the one where we are keeping the changes, where we are creating our files, we are adding up the things, we are developing the whole new feature, okay? Now the local repository is something which keeps all the mandatory changes, and we know that for sure these things, or these files, have to go to the central server. So whatever files have to go to the central server have to be kept inside the local repository. Working directories are for our own purposes, where we are just creating up the normal files. That's it. Now if I want it to be, you can say, tracked by Git, or maybe versioned by Git, then I should keep it inside the local repository. So at the very beginning, what I will be doing is, I'll go to your launch instance part. I will be launching up an Amazon Linux 2 machine. I'll select it. I'll go to configure instance details. I'll add up the storage, add tags, configure the security groups, select an existing security group. I'll select one of my own existing security groups, and I'll go for a review and launch, right? So I am going to launch this machine over the AWS cloud. I acknowledge and I launch. Now once I have launched this machine, I'll go to the view instances part, and as you can see that we are having the instances going to launch. Now let's wait till the instances launch. Okay, let the instances be launched. Till then we'll try to understand this. So let us say that we are creating up a working repository here and I am creating a file in this. Now generally if I have to send the file to the local repository, I have to send it through the staging area. The staging area is also going to be present when I have to send the file to your local repository. Now what is the staging area? So staging area is just a virtual concept. It is not going to be actually there, but yes, it is just a virtual concept which was brought by Git. So first you have to create up a file. Let's say I'm creating up a file something like a.txt. If I have to, let's say, send this file to your local repository, so first of all I'll have to add it to the staging area. Once I have added it here, then I can go for commit. So git commit is the command which I'll be using to send it to the local repository, and from the local repository, if I have to send it towards the central repository, then I will be going ahead with git push. Okay, so then your a.txt would reach out to your central server here. That is the overall procedure. Similarly, let's say that there is another developer who is working. He also, let's say, has to go for maybe adding up a file called as a.txt. So he will be also first of all adding it over the staging area. Very simple. Then he will be doing up a git commit. Now staging area we go by the command git add. Once we have done that, we will be going to the staging area. After the git commit, we will be going to the local repository, and then we will do a git push to send it to the centralized server. Now in our case, the centralized server becomes your GitHub repository, isn't it? That exactly is our centralized server. We will try to do the same connections, but we will not do the connection with the GitHub repository itself right away, because we are not, or we haven't learned what or how the GitHub works, right? So that is one part, and that is how the stuffs are going to be like. So we have a working repository, we have a staging area, we have a local repository, and then we do a git push, we send it to the central repository, and that's how the stuffs are going to be like. So more so over, this is the overall procedure. This is how every time the things happen. How do you create up a working directory? We create it with the command called as git init. Then what do? We create up a file, we add it over the staging area through the command git add, and then how do we commit it? We commit it with the help of git commit. So you can see that now I have already logged into the instance. I will try to run few commands in it. Let's see. So okay, so it has been already updated. Now I'll try to create up a simple repository, a simple directory for you all using the command make directory. Let's do that. Now I have created the directory called as git repo. Now I will try to go inside this git repository or the git repo which I have created. Okay, so right now where exactly we are? We are inside your git repo. We shall go for installing git. So let us do that stuff first. Now as you all can see that the git software has been installed properly and I am inside it easily. What will be the next step? Let's try to create up a simple file so that we can add and commit it. Now before creating up a file, we have to tell git that this is going to be our git repository, right? We have created the name as git repo, but we did not tell git that this is our working, or this is the repository which will be having the working directory and all those stuffs. So how to tell git, or basically we have to initialize this repository as the git repository. So we will be running a very simple command, which is, as you can see that running this command has given a message something like initialize tmt git repository in home ec2 user git repo.git. So if you will try to go for an ls-a, this would show you that there are 3 folders. These are the 3 hidden folders which you will see if you will be doing up an ls-a. Now this .git folder is the major folder, and you will understand the purpose of this folder once we are moving ahead with the sessions. So right now we are not going to go into these things. Now let us try to create up a very simple file and let's see how the stuff goes. These are the 2 sentences which I have written right now. The first one is I love my country, and the second one is I am very much afraid of corona. So I have just mentioned 2 lines here. Let's see how to do the other stuff. Now as you can see that I have come out of it, and now I will try to add this file into the staging area. Let's say that this is my file and I want to send it over the local repository. Right now this file is present in your working directory, okay, but now we have to send it to the local repository. How to do that? So first of all we will have to go for a command called as git add. So what you need to do is you need to write down the simple command git add, and then you'll have to provide the file name. Okay, two ways are there. Either you can provide up the file name or you can do a dot. If you do a dot, that means whatever files are there which you want to send to the staging area, all the files will go at once. Okay, if you are mentioning a specific file, then only that specific file will be going into the staging area. So let's press and enter. If everything goes correctly, then nothing will be the output. That's it. So we have added the file into our staging area, right? So as I already told you that there is only going to be a staging area kept. That's it. Now let's try to commit this file. How to do that? Now if you will be running up the git commit command, you will see that I am running git commit file1.txt, right? This is what I have done. If you will press and enter, it will ask you for a message. So there is something called as a message which you always have to provide. This message is very specific because using this message only other developers and other people will understand what exactly has been done in this file, right? I cannot go through all the codes and understand that okay, there was something done, but with the message itself I can actually say that this kind of things have been done inside this file. Let's say that I am working in a development module and I'll say that I am writing down the message created the user module. This is a module which I had to do. I am a developer and I have written this as a commit message, right? So what will happen? Just try to press an escape, go for a WQ, done, and you can see that git commit has been done. One file has been changed and two insertions have been done. So what do we mean by this? We know that okay, there was a file which was changed, two insertions were done. If there were two deletions, then it would have shown you two deletions, but right now we have done two insertions into this particular file, and that is the reason why it is showing us like this. So let's try to get a simple status of what has happened till now. So I'll be running a very simple command called as git log. So if you do a git log, it will automatically show you that there was a commit which was done whose ID is this. There is always a unique commit ID created whenever you do any commit. Now here you can see the commit message is there. With the commit ID you cannot actually take out anything because at the end of the day it is just an encrypted ID, right? Then we have a head pointer which is pointing at the master branch. We will understand this concept of branching in the upcoming sessions. Don't worry about it right now. Then we have the author here, right? So author, the EC2 default user has been given. Now previous to this you have to set yourself as the author. You can obviously do that. If you do not do it, then it will automatically take the EC2 user by default. That is what it has done. The date at which the commit was made, the time at which the commit was made, everything is being shown to you, right? So this git log is the log file which is consisting all the information about your commit which you have right now done. So what we have done, according to the picture which we have created, I created up a file, I added it in the staging area, then I sent it to the local repository. So this is something which we have seen till now, right? Now in the upcoming sessions we will try to understand few more commands in Git. Right now we have only seen that how we can go ahead with the commit part, how to add up the files and how to commit. Let us try to just see another commit and then I will be ending the session. I will just try to change this particular file itself. Now instead of I am afraid or I am very much afraid of corona, I'll just delete this line because I don't like this line. I will say I am not afraid of corona. I am saying that I'm not afraid of corona anymore. So I'll just do a WQ and now the things are going to be done. So again, obviously we need to add this file into the staging area first and then only we can commit. Right now now see, these are the changes which I have done. Earlier I created the file, I did some changes, that's it. Now I am rechanging that file, right? As a developer, just try to understand, I am rechanging that particular file. So how to do that? Again, I'll be going up with the command git, but now I will go for something like git commit. So what is happening here? I am doing a git commit in which I am saying that I am updating the file 1.txt. Now many of you will be asking that why exactly I'm not adding it up again in the staging area. I am adding it, Now once you have already committed a file and you are trying to recommit that file, that means you're trying to recommit some changes into it, so you don't need to run the add command all the times. Okay, what you can do is you can directly place a -a here, which would say that Git has to first of all add it, then it has to go for a commit. So automatically both the tasks are being done at the same point of time. Now as you can see that we have made up another commit, right? Committed. So you can see that the same file has been committed again. I'll clear up the screen first. I'll go for a git log again. If you see a git log, there is another git made, or sorry, there is another commit made with a different commit ID, and this is the message which I have sent it. So -m in that command refers to the message which you are trying to send it as the commit message, right? That is what you need to understand. So we are sending the commit message, updated file1.txt. I have made some changes and I have updated it. That's it. So I have committed those changes. Now I am fully flexible, or I am fully eligible to send it over the central repository. Now we will see in the upcoming sessions how to work with the central repository, how to do all the stuffs. Okay, so this is where I'll be stopping the session for today. Thank you all for joining up. Bye bye all, have a nice day.